News within the week. I am Janice Kobum, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu emerges as chairman. Akwa Ibom State government seals deal with German-based energy conservation company Atmosphere AG. Plus, link details of their stories and more in a moment. Many thanks for joining us. First in the news within the week is from the national scene, where President Bola Tinubu of Guinea-Bissau said though democracy is very tough, it is the best form of government. The president's emergence was announced at the 63rd Ordinary. He is the latest entrant into the exclusive club of heads of state in West Africa, pledged to bear the responsibility of the office and run an inclusive administration of the regional organization. Class of 1999 governors at the presidential villa in Abuja. President Tinubu is also a member of the set of governors, which was the first set of elected governors of the current democratic dispensation, also known as the Fourth Republic. Those present in the meeting include former governors James Zokalu Abia, Sam Egu Ebonyi. Others are Chimaroke Namani Enugu, Ibrahim Saminu Taraki, Jigawa, Oshun, Ahmed Yarima, Zamfara, Joli, Inyame, Taraba, Atahiru Bafarawa, Sokoto, and Joshua Darie of Plateau State. Representatives Tajuddin Abbas and other principal officers of the lower chamber of the National Assembly to support President Bola Tinubu's administration. He made the call while receiving as the cooperation of all citizens, irrespective of differences in political affiliations or religious persuasions, tribal and sectional background, to support the Tinubu administration in its noble objective, leadership. And moving away from that, the federal government, through Tertiary Education Trust Fund within the week, said it is determined to bridge the digital gap between industries to ensure that students in higher institutions acquire digital skills before graduation. Speaking in Abuja, the 2020 that bridging the digital skills gap would help produce graduates that are globally competitive. According to him, the need for capacity building, internet access availability, electronic journals, database subscription. In a related development, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund (TET Fund) during the week mandated members of the National Association of Nigerian Students (NANS) to henceforth help in monitoring projects executed in various institutions across the country. Executive students insisting that the fund would in the near future channel more resources to building conducive ones for them. He said students were at the core of any development programs of the new government, hence their interest was also of great concern in its intervention efforts. While stressing the need for equipping students with skills and right support, Echoni noted that TET Fund would like the students to be its eyes in various institutions, reporting erring contractors. It is set to harmonize all revenue collecting agencies in Nigeria. The special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on Revenue, Zach Adedeji, made this known to newsmen. Adedeji said the government will double the country's total annual revenue, which is currently below 15 trillion naira, by deepening the nation's revenue collection system and not by adding extra taxes. Adedeji clarified that the Tinubu administration is not going to collapse revenue-generating bodies, but will use technology to integrate all revenue-collecting agencies. That Tinubu has already approved the harmonization of all the revenue-collecting agencies. In the meantime, now the federal government within the week raised concern over the performance of the value-added tax VAT in Nigeria as a low, noting that the country's VAT rate was less than 1% to the gross domestic product (GDP). The Director of Tax Policies in the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Bashir Abdul Kadir, raised the concern at the opening event of a 3-day workshop on the harmonization of Nigeria's VAT, aligned with those of ECOWAS, called for the exemption of few products, goods and services from VAT for poor households to benefit from VAT policies. In a separate development, former President Olusegun Obasanjo in the course of the week lamented that most of the people who are example of constitutional abuse is a situation where members of the National Assembly fix their own salaries in clear usurpation of the duty of the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission. The former president said this in Ado-Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital, while urging political leaders to put the interest of citizens ahead in all decisions. Obasanjo pointed out that democracy does not mean anything to a man who is hungry, whose life is in danger, or whose property is being destroyed. From the red chambers now, the Senate within the week commended President Bola Tinubu over his decision to end the fuel subsidy administration. The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, who spoke during plenary, this was after Imo North Senator Patrick Ndubueze moved the motion titled "Need to Investigate the Controversial Huge Expenditure on Premium Motor Spirit (PMS) under the Subsidy and Recovery Administration." Senate, Akpabio received the approval of his colleagues to formally commend Tinubu on his courageous decision to stop the payment of subsidy on PMS. The lawmakers, however, called on the president to ensure that the planned palliatives intended. While the Senate during the week also approved President Bola Tinubu's request for the sum of $800 million loan as additional funds for the financing of the National Social Safety Net program set up by the National Assembly. Reports say that the Senate also amended the 2022 supplementary budget following Tinubu's request for the Senate. Godswill Akpabio, which was read on the floor of the Assembly, additional loan facility to the tune of $800 million to be secured from the World Bank to finance the Social Safety Net program. The President noted further that the purpose of the facility was to expand coverage of shock response safety net support for all and vulnerable Nigerians to meet the cost of their basic needs. In another development, Electoral Commission, INEC, to integrate voters' registers with the National Identification Number (NIN) database in order to maintain the integrity and transparency of the country's elections. Arigbishola made the remarks while representing the lead paper towards free, fair and credible elections at Arawa State University, KEFI. The former governor of Osun also advised INEC to train political parties on the precise roles they will play in elections, as well as to ensure the smooth. Department of State Services (DSS) says it has charged the suspended governor of Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN), Godwin Emefiele, to court. This is sequel to an Abuja High Court order within the week that the secret police should charge Emefiele to court within 1 week or release him. Hours after the court order, the DSS spokesman, however, did not state the court where Emefiele was charged and did not state the allegations brought against the suspended bank chief before the undisclosed court. Recall that the service had in 2022 appealed for a court order to detain him in respect of a criminal investigation. On petroleum matters now, the acting Comptroller General of the Nigerian Customs insisting that the nation cannot afford to let saboteurs take over its economy. Adeniyi, who hinted that there were still cases of smuggling of premium motor spirit, said the agency had adopted new border patrol strategies to close in on all thieves. Management staff of the NCS in Abuja. Adeniyi added that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company put a cargo of crude oil on board. In education now, the National Association of Academies in Federal Universities saying that it may lead to the dropping out of students from school. NAT also kicked against the dissolution of University President Ibeji Nwokoma at the end of its 52nd National Executive Council meeting in Abuja. The union argued that the dissolution would cripple the activities of the country's tertiary institutions, especially in areas of promotion, motivation, welfare, contract. Meanwhile, a total of 6 students have scored 0-1 in the 2023 National Common Entrance Examinations conducted by the National Examination Council (NECO), the permanent in Abuja during the week. Adejo said a total of 72,865 pupils registered for the examination compared to the 71,738 for 2022, with Lagos State having the highest. To him, 3,036 pupils were absent, while 76 pupils had the highest score of 203 and 6 pupils had the lowest score of 0-1. Elsewhere now, the governor of Anambra State, Chukwuma Soludo, within the week directed that Meso Major Ejikeme be handed over to the State Guardians Counseling for counseling following her admission of faking her unified tertiary matriculation examination UTME results at Ogun. He stated that in a letter to her principal, Governor Soludo further directed the immediate commencement of psychological counseling and therapy sessions for Mesoma, adding that she would be handed over to a professor of clinical psychology. And back here, Akwa Ibom State Government yesterday, Atmosphere Climate Sustainability Limited, a subsidiary of Climate Change Project, national team on climate change led by architect Ezekiel Nya-Etuk at the State Government House, Uyo. Governor Enosh extolled architect Nya-Etuk for using his contacts to make Akwa Ibom leverage on the climate change initiative. He assured of his readiness of the state government to key into the earlier. The leader of the team, architect Ezekiel Nya-Etuk, had expressed appreciation to the governor for granting audience to the team despite a short notice, with Vice President as Vice Chairman and 11 ministers, National Security Advisor, Central Bank governors as members of the advisory board. That the council is the apex body for policies and decision on climate change in Nigeria. That he recommended the state for developing the climate change infrastructure and described as a welcome development the determination of the state on the attainment of climate change adaptation operations, which would enable it to enjoy the support and funding from World Bank and other international donor agencies. And meanwhile, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino has ordered for the middle school Wellington Basiwe Uyo Christ the King Primary School CKS, which is to serve as a model of the state government's vision of primary institutions, would be upgraded to standard with the renovation of structures, provisions of educational materials, solar lights, pipe-borne water, and staff quarters. Governor Eno, who gave the directive when he embarked on an unscheduled inspection of facilities at Christ the King Primary School, Wellington Basiwe Uyo, said in line with the rural development, the state government will provide special incentives for teachers in rural and riverine areas to encourage teachers to perform maximally in those communities. The governor, while inspecting the facility, brought a way forward towards creating the model primary institution. Impressed with the dutiful headmistress Eme Bassi and the comportment of the pupils during the exams, Governor Eno directed the immediate and special promotion of the headmistress, warning in response to the president's request for the passage of the 500 million, the House of Representatives, some residents of Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, have reached out to the proposed palliatives aimed at cushioning the effect of fuel subsidy removal. Our correspondent Blessing Dixon completes the story.
bound. Beneficiaries support the government's initiative.
Ever since I was born in this Nigeria as a country, I've never heard anything like palliative that has gotten to a common palliative that they want to do.
My problem is they should solve this problem because it affects everybody. Fuel now is 500 and something, and then it affects workers. They don't increase their salary, but they are increasing fare. How would they pay to work, pay their fee, transport to work? And now a single drop is 100 naira. Some places are 200. And so, and the masses. Few people would chop the palliative because last one I did not even see it, talk less of eating it.
Residents of Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, advised the government on some ideas they could channel the 500 billion naira to instead of on palliatives.
Please, if they want to do anything and they want people to benefit, they should put it into something else like agriculture, education, especially. Like me, that I'm a student. Before you know now, they'll do strike. Before you know, they'll say, go home and sit down. Then they want to do palliative. That palliative, they already have a list of people that they want to write. Don't agree to it.
I think, in my own opinion, they will use the money to fix problems in either refinery or in any way we have problem in fear. Not in anything like palliative, because we will just eat and it will finish. That problem will still exist. So for my own, I will beg the government refinery, they fix it, remove those things that are bad. They fix the new thing, use that money to fix those things. And before we know it, this fuel will come down so that we all will benefit at the end. Not to do things that will still affect us, even our generation, even the one unborn. So that is my own opinion.
Apparently, 119.5 billion naira for the provision of palliatives to Nigerians to cushion the effects of fear.
18.5 million liters after deregulation. Do stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30. Relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Where Gabon's President Ali Bongo Ondimba, in the course of the week, said that he would seek a third term as the oil-rich African nation's head of state. Reports say Bongo took over from his father, Omar Bongo Ondimba, the country's ruler for 41 years in 2000, then rival Jinping, who claimed the election had been fixed. According to reports, the Bongo family has ruled the country for 55 years and is branded to amend the constitution and renews the president's term by 7 years to 5 years. And still in Africa, the president of Central African Republic, CAF, Faustin Taude, at the end of the month, the Minister of Youth and Sports, Artside Rebels, reclaims the new constitution as the first that limit of 2 terms to the president, therefore allowing the president to run for a 3rd term in office. He said the new constitution, referring to now President Joe Biden, in the course of the week declared state of emergency in Vermont after torrential downpours triggered life-threatening flash floods. The move frees up federal government resources to support the state, and people have been left trapped in their homes. Emergency teams are said to have already performed dozens of rescues. Parts of the northeastern U.S., including New York and Vermont, have seen some of the most severe flooding in more than a decade in recent years. Stoltenberg, within the week, said Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan had agreed to support Sweden's bid to join NATO. Stoltenberg said the Turkish leader would forward Sweden's bid to the parliament in Ankara and ensure ratification. Stoltenberg, speaking in Vilnius after hosting talks between Erdogan and Kristersson ahead of the NATO summit in the Lithuanian capital, described this as a historic on the Turkish parliament. And meanwhile, Ukraine's emergency services has killed 7 people. Reports say Orikhiv has a pre-war population of 14,000 people and is in the frontline southeastern region of Zaporizhia, which Russian leader Vladimir Putin claimed to have annexed last year, despite not having full military control over it. Meanwhile, Orikhiv regional governor Yuri Malasin, military officials within the week, said that Russia targeted green facilities in Ukraine. Southern port city of Odessa overnight with Shahid attack drones. Administrative buildings at the port. According to the officials, debris from successful interceptions caused fires in 2 terminals, including one holding grain, adding that damage from the fires was minimal before they were extinguished. And still on the foreign scene, China's local officials have said that 6 people were killed. A spokeswoman for the city government in Liangjiang said the victims include 1 teacher, 2 parents and 3 students. She did not offer details about the identities or age of the victims, nor about the... On the business news, the federal government within the week said that the volume of premium motor spirit PMS 6 billion liters. Data obtained from the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority in Abuja showed that between January 1 and May 28, 2023, which was the report, noted that the average consumption for the 148-day period was put at 66.9 million liters, indicating the country's consumed an average of 66.9 million liters of petrol daily during the 5-month period when subsidy on petrol was still in place. But figures from the federal government agency indicated that between June 1 to June 28, 2023, which was described as the post-deregulation period, the total petrol consumption across the country was 1.36 billion liters, while the average daily consumption was put at 48.43 million liters. Meanwhile, the federal government during the week also said Nigeria currently accounts for the Regulatory Commission NUPRC, noting that the gas reserves in Nigeria could last for about 94 years. The Chief Executive Officer, NUPRC, Benga Komolafe, while speaking at the Nigerian Association for Energy Economics 16th Annual International Conference in Abuja, said it is important to note that oil and gas could continue to guarantee energy security for Nigeria's massive population, estimated to be about 200 million. Benga added that over the last 2 centuries, the world had witnessed the evolution of various energy sources, from the traditional biomass to coal, oil and gas, hydropower, wind, solar, blue hydrogen, and other renewable sources of energy. And elsewhere now, the Director of Risk Management, keep up with trends that will pose as risk for the organization. Ijebo gave this charge during the 2023 Certified Risk Manager induction, while urging the professionals to stay agile and adaptable, ready to respond to the dynamic nature of their work. He also encouraged them to be brave, taking on challenges and seizing opportunities. In a statement, terms creation of value from data, weaponization of information, shift in the cybersecurity risk landscape, and regulatory changes. And still in business, data from the new foreign direct capital importation in the first quarter of 2023. Reports say that out of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, only Lagos, Abuja, Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Anambra, Ekiti, $1.13 billion. Lagos with dollars attracted the most capital in the period under review, followed by Abuja at $410.27 million and Akwa Ibom at $5.21 million. The NBS disclosed that too. Meanwhile, the Naira during the week appreciated to 744 Naira per dollar at the investors and exporters window. The closing rate yesterday represents a 24 Naira per dollar gain from Friday's 768 Naira per dollar rate. According to reports, the Central Bank of Nigeria unified all exchange rates into the Energy Operators of Nigeria APCON. Dr. Aminu Gwadebe expressed concerns about the expanding gap between the official and parallel market rates. He said the financial sector regulator should find ways to continually narrow the gaps, including Bureau de Changes, BDCS operators, and the forex market operations. And still to come in the news, Super Falcons to face Lions FC in friendly game ahead of 2023 FIFA WWC. Do stay with us.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage for your desired return on investment and so much more. Advertised on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Good to have you back. In health, one is at risk of being infected with the disease. The health ministry also warned the public to be cautious, especially children under 5 years and adults, about proper diagnosis and treatment. The ministry said the disease, which is a life-threatening infection caused by bacteria, is on the skin. It identified the prevention measures to include vaccination, promotion of herd immunity, and practice of good hygiene. And elsewhere now, the Nigerian Association meant on or before July 19, 2023. The president of NAT, Dr. Emeka Oji, disclosed this in an interview with newsmen. Recall that NAT had issued a fresh 2 weeks ultimatum to the federal government to commence the implementation of all pending agreements. It reached signed a memorandum of understanding with the government to address the issues raised by the doctors. The doctors are demanding the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria to discontinue the downgrading of the membership certificate issued by the West African Postgraduate Medical Salary Structure, New Hazard Allowance, and domestication of the Medical Residency Training Act, among others. And still in health, the Association of Community Pharmacists in Nigeria during the week expressed worries over the increasing drug scourge in the country, saying infiltration and quacks have taken over its school poses security threats to the health of the citizens. In a statement jointly signed by the chairman, Wale Aladibolu, and the secretary, Ambrose Eze, the association said the challenges of medicine security stated that the federal government must activate some of the specific provisos immediately in consonance with listing drug matters as item 21 of parts in the second schedule of the exclusive Falcons of Nigeria will take on Lions FC, a local women's football club, in a friendly in Brace Falcons since the team started preparations for the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup to be co-hosted by Australia and New Zealand last week. Reports say the friendly will afford head coach Randy Waldrum to perfect his tactics and formation ahead of the competition. Meanwhile, the Superland, the 10th edition of the FIFA Women's World Cup, will run from July 20 to August 20. Meanwhile, Nigeria has won the 2023 Africa Under-21 Nations Women's also clinched the title. Reports say the team, after the win, returned to Nigeria during the week. And still in sports now, FIFA within the week sanctioned Cristiano. The World Football Governing Body has now banned the club from re-registering any new signing going into the new Saudi Pro League. Al Nassr League side in a €16.50 million deal in 2018, shortly after impressing at the World Cup in Russia. While the Knights of Niger have Let's go now into entertainment news, where the Guinness World Records GWR in the course of the week warned Nigerians against making concerted efforts to break various records. In Nigerian who tweeted to inform the body about her intention to attempt 2 record-breaking feats. The warning is coming days after the world record body at 100-hour cookathon challenge in May. Many other Nigerians caught the syndrome and started off a deluge of record-breaking attempts. up at Chicago, where he sold out the 10,000 capacity Credit Union One Arena Chicago, as he did at his previous stop at the 20,000 capacity Toyota Arena in Houston. Davido delighted the audience with an impressive rendition of several of his hit songs. Reports say Davido has been on the road since the MGM Music Hall at Fenway in Boston and will be extending the energy to his next stop in Toronto and Canada. And still on entertainment, the Headies Academy has released a nomination list for the 20 other sensational singers such as Rema, Ruga, and Asake also topped the nomination list. The list also features fast-rising rapper Odumodu Black, who has Wakanda Forever, Marvin Records fast-rising star Bayani, singer Gucci, LT Skills, who scored a smash hit with his 2022 record ODG, and fast-rising Kaid. And that's all we have for you at this moment. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms and ensure Spectrum News within the week. My name is Janice Cobham. Do you have a good afternoon?